Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. On this episode of Studio Chat, I have a really great chat with Milly. Milly is an online coach based in Australia, serving a worldwide female online community. She specialises in weight loss and muscle growth with a particular interest in habit building, female health, and long-term sustainable results. Now, the reason why I reached out to Milly was I've been following her on Instagram for some time. And a couple of weeks ago, there was a post that she made about an experience that she had joining a new gym and just the looks and comments that were made as a coach that she was joining this gym. And I reached out to her and asked her to be a guest on my podcast because I think it was really important. I wanted to hear from Milly. I wanted her to share her story and for her to use her voice on my podcast. Today, I do want to have a bit of a warning here that during this chat, we do talk about eating disorders, mental health, trauma, depression, disordered eating, emotional eating, and diet culture. We talk about a lot of things today about mental health, that being skinny isn't the ultimate goal, training in the gym, making sure you've got the right support around you, and what life is like when it just throws us curveballs. Join us as we chat about body image, health at every size, and I'm sure you're going to love this as much as Milly and I did catching up. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Studio Chat. I'm really glad that Milly has joined me today. Hi Milly.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And I'd love for you to share with my listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Who I am and what I do. Okay, so my name is Milly. So I'm a personal trainer. I've been in the fitness industry for about 2 years. I worked at a gym for about a year and a half, and then obviously COVID happened. And so now basically I run a online coaching business. It's my new little baby, so I'm still building her up. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So basically spend a lot of time on the floor with clients, and then now business is fully online, which is, it's been a goal for probably 6 years to have an online business. So definitely where I wanted to go.
Wow, that's awesome. The reason why I reached out to you is I have been stalking you. I've been a bit of a creep. Stalking you on Instagram for a while because you do live in my region, and I've just noticed the amazing things, how vulnerable you are when you post about your journey and your lifestyle and your business and how you help people in the gym. And this particular reason, I'm just getting my phone out now because I want to read to everyone why I reached out to you. I was going to at some point anyway, but this just catapulted me to tapping you on the shoulder and going, nah, this is not okay. So I think it was maybe a couple of weeks ago now, Milly posted on her Instagram page. I just want to read this to you, everyone, and I just want you to sit with it for a while and see how you would feel. So the post says, I just moved into a new area and I had a need to join a new gym. I go to the desk and ask to do a trial. I get eyeballed, looked up and down. The mid to late 40-year-old lady tells me that winter is a great time to start the gym. I deadpan this lady. I tell her I'm a coach, that I train regularly, and that I'm simply new to the area. I stay silent and watch her visibly squirm and try to recover. You cannot eyeball someone and guess their training, age, or health. You don't know if a person is new to the gym or if they've been busting their ass and they've lost 50 kilos already. As a plus-size coach, these assumptions aren't new to me, and I handle them much more differently now than I did 22 months ago at the start of my career. All I imagine is how discouraged a person would be having someone assume that they don't train after training their ass off for 1 or 2 years. Do better.
Yeah.
I read that and was like, all sorts of things hit home for me. This is really close to my heart too, because I'm a girl that have always been I'm a bigger build. I've always been like a 14, 12, 14, 16. I can circulate anywhere around that. And some people say I don't even look like it, but I am.
Yes, same.
And yeah, and it's hard because I saw that and it just crushed my soul. Beautiful of you to be so vulnerable and share that online. So thank you for doing that, because these discussions need to be had. So yeah, you want to walk me through like what happened and fill me in.
Yes. So I mean, even as a coach, you're never 100% comfortable in the gym. Like if you're going into a new gym, like anyone is going to have that little bit of nervousness walking into a new space, right? Coach or not, trainer or not, experience or not, it's a nerve-wracking experience. So it's freezing up here. I live in Helensburgh in New South Wales, so it's like top of the hill, freezing cold. So I'm walking into the gym, freezing my tits off. I have this big woolly jumper on, and the smallest part of my body is my waist. And do I feel the need to constantly show that off all the time? No. So I had this big jumper on, and I was showing my thick thighs, and I walked into the gym and I just said, hey, I'm wanting to just start a trial with the gym, because a hot tip for anyone listening, you should always trial the gyms in your area before you join to get a feel of the people and the place, right? So they're like, yeah, we'll set you up on a 3-day trial. And the lady, the 40-something-year-old lady who was blonde and like mid-height and skinny as, just sort of looked me up and down and said, winter is such a great time to start. And I was so mad straight away. And I always gaslight myself. Milly, you're overreacting. Milly, that's like you're being too sensitive, or Milly, like just, get over it and move on with your life. But I'm learning to not do that to myself. So in my head, I had this whole conversation like, you're going to let her get away with saying that to you? Because how many other women has she said that to walking in the door? And not only am I also in the training space, but I also am so aware of this prejudice around big women in the gym. And when I say big women, like I'm between a 14 and a 16. So I don't count myself as overly big or overly small. But to be judged like that the second I walked into a space was disgusting, especially the way that she said it and after looking at me the way that she did.
It was the look up and down, wasn't it? It's the way that I get it often, the way that they look you up and down. And size 14 to size 16, for my listeners in New Zealand and Australia, that is a standard size for women these days. That is
average.
It's very average and standard. But for a health and wellness place where people go for many reasons, for mental health, for other things, it's that look. All women, if you're listening to this, you all know that look. When another woman looks at you, it's not in your head. Because did your stomach drop when she did that to you? Yeah.
And you got to trust that vibrations, right? People give off signals, people give off vibrations. You know when someone's being a bit crap towards you, like you feel it. So I had this conversation in my head. Are you going to say something to her? Maybe she didn't mean it. She sounded a little bit like, nervous, or I don't know, that I was getting this vibe from her that she was just sort of talking out of her ass. I don't know, I'll explain that in a second. But I was like, I'm a coach, I train all the time, I'm just new to the area. And just literally kept staring into her soul. Because I was just like, why would you just assume and I've worked in gyms before. I've been the receptionist, I've been the sales girl, and it's always, oh, welcome to the gym. Do you know what you're doing? Do you need me to show you how to use equipment real quick? Have you had experience in the gym before? Like, what brings you in here? Not, oh, you're fat, you've never trained a day in your life, winter's a great time to start. And not only that, but it's perpetuating the whole summer bodies are built in winter crap that everyone used to spout like 10 years ago. So it's like her whole perception, it's just everything I stand against. So I said what I said, and I was so tempted to leave, but I was like, you need to train tonight. Like, your coach will be pissed at you if you don't train. So go in and train. So I went in, I did my session, trained really hard, trained the house down, but also on purpose, because I was just like, well, you can watch me lift, you bitch. Anyway, I left the gym. I straight away, or actually in the gym on the treadmill, I posted that video on Instagram.
Yeah.
In the gym. I put it on TikTok, and I was just like, how many other women has this crap happened to? Like, the second, like, it's like, the only thing I can compare it to is when I was early married, so I was about 21, I went to the GP to get a mental health care plan, and something had happened where I was either 5 minutes late, or the receptionist told me the wrong time. I was convinced I was there on time. Anyway, the doctor took me in, and he was like, you're late for your appointment. You need to go away, and you need to rebook your session with me, because I don't have time for you right now. This is all your fault, and kicked me out of the room. It had took me probably 3 years to get to the point of going into that GP's office and getting that care plan done. So I left, I called my mom, bawled my eyes out, called the receptionist, bawled my eyes out to her. And when that happened to me, and I know it was such a small thing, she said like 5 words, but I was like, you could ruin a woman's chance to get into the gym and use this as her safety space or her second home. She might have been working herself up for 3 years to get to this point of joining a gym, and you've just you've just looked at her and assumed that, oh, she doesn't train, or she's not healthy. Like, it killed me. It really did. And I wasn't going to go back, but the gym's really good. And there's like no other gym close to my new house. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? So I got so much feedback on TikTok as well. The video popped off a little bit, and I had about like 35, 40 comments of women saying one of two things, which was, one of three things. This is why I'll never step foot in a commercial gym, or this is why I'll never pay money to the fitness industry, was the main number one. Number two was so many other women saying, I've been training for 10 years and people still think I need to be shown how to use equipment, or I've been training for years and people still act like this to me. And then the third one was, we need more coaches like you, which is funny because my social media is so, I've curated it so much that I just see women who are promoting, accept your body, love your body, and girls who are, a bit thick, and they go into the gym and they lift their weights and they show their glutes. And it's not all about promoting being tiny or being shredded or doing HIIT workouts, right? So when they were saying that we need more coaches like you, in my head, I'm like, but there's so many coaches like me out there. But I realized, oh, well, I've actually changed my social media to only see the people who build me up. Whereas every fitness person I followed who sort of made me feel a bit crap about myself, I got rid of straight away. Whereas there's probably so many people out there who are still like idolizing that one body type, and just hearing that like, if you want it, you need to work hard enough for it, or if you want to lose weight, just eat less food. Like, the way that they were saying just showed me that they needed to hear more of this kind of message, which is hard because it's so, like you said, it's a vulnerable post to put out there. Like, when I first started in the space, I was like, no one's going to want to train with me because I don't have a six-pack and I'm not a size 8. And when I started getting clients, that's the first thing they said that drew them to me was, you don't intimidate me. You actually have a body that's like, it's kind of body goals for me because that's something I can attain. And I thought that was the sweetest thing ever, because here I am thinking like, I don't look anything like these girls in my gym. I suck. My business is going to be crap. I'm going to have to go back to admin work. And now that I'm being so vulnerable, I get so many women messaging me saying that they've had similar experiences, and like that's how we've connected as well. So yeah, it's crazy.
And I understand too, because I'm from the next generation up. Like we're talking about it before we recorded. I was like, I'm not gonna have to be your mum, and you're like, no, you can be my sister. You're so sweet. But I'm the same with my business, because I put on 15 to 20 kilos since I was like fit or whatever. And I've always had a dream of having this business and helping women, because I can talk to them on a level. I can really connect with teen girls. I have this gift of connecting with women in general, because I see you, and I give a safe space for you to be able to just say how you feel. And I know what it feels like to be that girl that fucking hates your body. And then you punch it in the stomach sometimes, and you look at it and you like, I've been there and I know what it's like. And that's and when I started my business 2.5 years ago, I was like, I held off for possibly a year before that. I should have started 3.5 years ago, but I couldn't, because I was like,
you're scared.
Who's going to see me? I'm not a good role model. I'm overweight. I don't look like I'm healthy, but like I thought I'll wait until I get to that size again, and then I'll start my business. And then
I've thought that so many times too.
One of my coaches was like, you'll actually be able to relate to women more because of it. And it's so true.
Yeah, it's so true. And women, well, first of all, it's your personality that you just exude this like beautiful, comforting space. But also, like, women need to feel that from someone, because as we were talking about, there's already so much judgment that doesn't just come from men. It comes from plenty of other women who are judging you for the way that you look. Like, I used to train at this gym where, and it's a great gym, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of very thin or very little. Basically, I was probably the biggest girl that ever stepped foot in the gym, is what I'm trying to say. Like, they were very small with their crop tops and their short shorts, and that's great, and like props to them, no issues with that at all. But I'm the biggest girl in the space, so I walk in, and the amount of times I'd have I can't even say it because it's so mean, but I'd just have people assume that I couldn't train properly. So I'd have people come up and take the barbell that I had clearly lined up to use. Like, my stuff was on the floor, I was warming up in front of it, and I had a chick come up and take that barbell. There were 6 other barbells free, and she took mine just because she assumed, oh, she's chunky, she probably doesn't lift, she probably doesn't know what she's doing. Like, that's the vibe it was. And I was like, why are you touching my bar? Like, get onto a different bar.
I've been in the gym for years and years and years. That's gym etiquette. If someone has, if someone's standing in front of equipment, if someone's even standing by a bench, I always say, oh, can I use this, mate? Or can I do this to anyone, guy or girl?
No, she just came up, took the bar. So lack of gym etiquette, but also just that judgment straight away. I've had a girl ask me if I needed a lighter barbell. I was setting up with a 20-kilo barbell plus added weight. She's like, oh, do you need a lighter barbell? And then I've had a girl as well. Oh, what did she do? She asked me, oh no, it was that girl who asked me if I needed the lighter barbell. She was deadlifting. I was next to her, and it wasn't nice. Again, we're talking about understanding people's vibes. These weren't nice interactions with these girls.
Okay, so the vibe
was completely off. Yeah, and so same thing. I was like, no, the barbell's fine, thanks. And then I put plates on that were heavier than what she was lifting, and I hadn't lifted that much in ages. But I just was like, you need to understand that just because I'm bigger than you doesn't mean I can't lift. Because this is the thing, you see a big bloke and people think, oh, he's massive, like, he must be so strong.
No.
You see a big woman and you think she must just eat McDonald's and sit on the lounge and cry. Like, there's no like, wow, she's a baddie, she's thick, she's strong. Like, there's a movement coming, but I feel like that movement right now is online, which is great. But where is that in person at the gym?
Well, I haven't come across, in all the years I've been on social media, I'm not a big social media user or anything. I use it for my business now, but you're the first person that I've come across. that does
Wow.
it does what you do. CrossFit has been a bit of a movement for women that are built in different ways. I have found that that's more accepting of different body shapes, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But I think in the gym too, I'm very old school. I'm very old school with health and fitness. I'm very old school with training, like simple functional movements with some weight
Yeah.
is really therapeutic for me too,
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in that. The more women that can come and just lift a bit of weight, it'll change your life.
100%. 100%. So, relating this back to your first question, I told you I'd go on tangents, was this gym that I did a trial in. So, went in, did the trial, I decided to join the gym. And when I got to the desk, it was a different chick. She looked really kind. She was like probably late 20s. And she's like, "How was your trial?" And I was like, the trial was good. I like your gym. I am going to be joining, but I do have to make a complaint about one of the staff members here. And I took her through the story, and I just said, "Look, there's part of me that wants to believe she had good intentions," and just said what she said without thinking, because I'm trying to always assume the best in people. But I said, I'm in a space where I'm very confident with the way that I look. I know that I'm fit. I know that I'm strong. I know that I eat well. I know my goals. So for me to be met with that judgment the second I walk into a new gym was crap. And I just said to her, like, the type of behavior is disgusting. It has no place in a gym. And I want to make this point, because you're going to lose members, or you're going to turn potential members away from your space, because that is the type of vibe you're giving them the second they walk in the door. So I found out that the woman was on a trial basis with the gym. She hadn't actually been hired. I also found out that, they hadn't taken her yet through the sort of pitch or sales pitch that they use. So she it's like a bit of an excuse, but I was still like, yeah, that's fine. But at the end of the day, she should know better. Like, she's not a young 18-year-old girl. She should know better. So through that conversation, thanks, hon. Bit of champagne to celebrate the new house.
Oh, thank you. I'll have mine.
So she ended up offering me a job as a trainer in the gym. She was like, "We need more people like you. We need women in this space who aren't afraid to lift heavy weight. There's so many women that could benefit from that type of vibe in this club. Do you want to work here?" I was cool. Inside, I was like, this is hilarious. And I made a follow-up post on TikTok about that whole conversation, and ended it with, like, for every negative comment you get, or every judgmental look you get, you have 10 women in your corner backing you up. There are women like us out there. Don't forget that, because I don't want people to think that the gym is toxic, or the fitness industry is toxic. I mean, like, yeah, there's plenty of toxicity in it, but there's also so many of us trying to push this, like, healthy, strong, get fit, get healthy, take care of yourself, take care of your mental health vibe. Like you were saying before the podcast, fitness and health at any size. That needs to be the message, because that's what's going to encourage people to come in and move, which is our job at the end of the day, is to get general population to come in and take care of their fitness and their health. Don't turn them away because they're not a size 8. Like,
are you going to work there?
I'm not sure. I am thinking about it, but I'm just like, I don't know.
Or contract yourself out, maybe. Sometimes as a PT you can contract. There's many ways around it, but isn't it interesting how the universe has shown you, if you use your voice, Milly, and you use your voice and you say what you want, you get rewarded for it.
Well, that was 100% it, because like we were saying before, I held myself back from posting on social media for so long, because I was judging myself. So I had this negative, you're too big to be a coach. No one's going to listen to you. La-di-da-di-da-di-da. And then through confidence of training people on the floor, and then said, them saying, I've never had a PT tell me this, I've never had a coach tell me this, I'm finally training my best, and then seeing my clients progress, I was like, well, I know what I'm doing. And then when I started training properly myself and built a better relationship with training and food myself, now I'm in this space of, I have every right to talk about what I need to talk about and present myself as an authority in the space who's obviously always learning and absorbing information. Because I practice what I preach, and I don't have to be a size 8 for me to be confident in that. So it's been a very good learning experience, and it's amazing to connect with women all around the world, and like even finding yourself through social media just by being vulnerable, which is super scary. Like, I've gained 50 kilograms in the past 3 years, so I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter what weight I was, but 50 kilograms. So the first post I ever put up around being vulnerable with my size was like, it was some sort of trend, and I was like, I've gained 50 kilograms, that's 88 pounds, something like that. And I just put it out there. I was like, you know what? It is what it is. People know I've put on weight. People who know me know that I've put on weight. I said to my brother, so mean, I was like, oh, you look so good, man. Like, you look like you've lost weight. And he goes, yeah, and you found it all. And I was like,
you know,
it's gonna kill you. Like, what a brat. But what was I saying? I've just lost my point.
About being vulnerable and stuff, and how you actually said that, like, you are very open with how much weight you have put on.
Yeah, because I haven't heard someone that people have been like, yeah, I've gained weight, but no, I gained 50 kilograms. I gained a lot of weight, and then being open about it now, like, yep, I'm on a weight loss journey myself because that's what I want to do for me, and I've been smaller and bigger, and I know where I feel confident, and I know when my fitness levels kick in. Like, that's just my personal preference. But yeah, I haven't seen anyone say like, I put on this much weight. It is what it is, and just put it out there. And then what cracked me up was I had a lot of support on that video, but I had a girl comment on it and say, yeah, and it all went to your boobs, because I have big boobs. And I was like, that's not very supportive, babe. Like, you don't get to just comment on my body and tell me where I gained the weight just because, like, yeah, I'm putting it out there and I get that, but I was like, you trying to be a bitch? Like, did you think about that comment before you wrote it?
Yeah, but I've got girlfriends like that I have boobs too, and they always make those comments, but then they quickly follow up, oh, I'd love to have your body, or I'd love to have your, you know, when you have a bigger chest, it's uncomfortable and it gets in the way. When you I've always had them, no matter what size. Even at my leanest, I had a good set on me, you know, so I've always had them. But I know that other women, you know, always want what they do. We're so hard
always want what you don't have. Yeah,
we're so hard on ourselves, and we hate ourselves, and sometimes those places can get real dark, like those thoughts. And until, like, you and I have share this stuff with other women, and when I share some of my deeper, most inner thoughts, they look at me and be like, and I'm like, you have those too? And they're like, yeah. Like, it's ingrained from us, from society. It hasn't, when you don't come out of the womb, you're not born and all of a sudden have these thoughts that you are fat and you're overweight and you hate your body and you're not good enough. Like, they've come from somewhere.
Yeah, they 100% come from somewhere. It's funny, I always have this chat with my husband because I like to say I'm all for equality, right? So I'd say I'm a feminist because I'm all for equality, but my husband takes that to mean that I'm a man hater, and we're still trying to figure that one out together, because I don't hate men, I love men, but you know, I hate some of you. So we were having this chat about the model that was on the sports cover. It was this whole big thing. There was a plus size model on Sports Illustrated, right?
She wasn't even that big. I don't think
she wasn't even that big.
Even, you know, Ashley. Do you know
Ashley Graham? What was that?
You know Ashley Graham? She was
Oh,
the first ever plus size, like she's a track
yes.
size, the first Sports Illustrated model.
Hmm.
Ashley Graham, I'm sure that's her name. I'll quickly look that up while we're talking. She was the first ever plus size Sports Illustrated model, and this one that came up the other day on TV,
Yeah.
she wasn't. Like to model standards, she was. Yes, if anyone's listening and you want to follow someone that is plus size, her name is Ashley Graham, and she has a podcast, and her name is and she says beauty beyond size. So she's really big on, so she's very well known in the States. But yes, I did see it was a journalist or someone that commented on, what was it?
It wasn't Jordan Peterson that you're thinking of.
Yeah, is he a journalist or something?
He's a psychologist, but
Yeah.
he reposted it on Twitter.
Yes.
And like, ew, you get off Twitter, you're old. But he was like,
You're the same age as me, but carry on.
No, he's not. He's way older than you. All right.
Dave, Milly, good Dave.
And he said something like, "This will never be beautiful," something like that. And me and my husband are having this conversation, and my husband's very black and white, and he's always been very skinny. His issue is like, trying to gain weight. So in my head, I'm like, well, if you've not been through it, you can't comment on it. So if you've not had to lose a significant amount of weight, you shouldn't talk about it. So, and that's my issue with like very skinny coaches as well. Anyway, we're having this conversation, and he's like, well, being overweight isn't healthy. And I said, that's not the argument here. The argument is she's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. She is a bigger than models, like standard size girl, and they're showing people that you can be on the cover of Sports Illustrated because you can be fit and healthy at any size, right? You don't have to be size 6 for you to be fit and healthy and on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And I was saying, like, they're not preaching that being overweight is healthy.
No.
They're giving people representation. And I was like, that's all people want. Representation on social media and magazines so that they can see their bodies and go, oh wow, she looks like this. Like, I probably look like that girl on the cover. I have a very similar body to her. I look at that and I think that's incredible. Like, that's such a positive movement forward. Representation, it's inclusive, it's showing women that they don't have to be stick thin. And the argument straight away is, well, being overweight isn't healthy. Like, who said it was? That's not the point. It just
Yeah, but it's interesting because for being stick thin, there's some people, like I said to you before, that I had a coach that really beautifully said it in a nice way, that if I didn't eat or I've shared it on a podcast before, if I didn't eat or drink anything for 2 years, I still wouldn't be tiny, like I still wouldn't be little.
Yes.
There comes a part that we are built the way we're built. Yes, we can have epigenetics. Yes, we can change with our diet and with our training to a certain point, but there's some of us girls that are built a certain way. But as soon as we are born, we're saturated with marketing, Barbie dolls and everything like that, that we've got to look a certain way. And then we hang around with certain friends. And then, like, there was so many comments when my body started to change. And you still remember, I always bring this up a lot, but I still remember I was a bit younger than you and I was dating a guy, and he like held my hand and got my wrist and was like, Jesus, you've got really thick wrists.
Ugh.
And like, do you know, that just crushes your soul when you're
like, why comment on it? Why say it like that?
Yeah,
but it's reinforcing that it's a bad thing, right? Like, that's the thing, is because we're talking about disordered eating before. I've had disordered eating patterns where I was not eating enough, and I dropped a lot of weight. I think it was about 25 kilos very, very quickly. And the amount of praise I got and the amount of boy attention I got, I've got to throw him under the bus. That's when me and my hubby started dating, right?
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure, it's just because I'm so amazing as a person. But the general feedback I got was just so positive. And like, I had one of our guy friends, a mutual friend of me and my husband, being like, wow, you've got some really sexy legs on you, or like, wow. And like him and I always consider myself as a tomboy, so him and I didn't have that kind of relationship. And then for him to say something like that, I was like, are you drunk? Like, are you right? What makes you think you can say that to me? It's crazy to me that you have treated me so differently now that I'm a smaller size. And then went through a fair amount of trauma, and then gained the 50 kilos over a 2-3 year span. And then I got to see the other end of the stick, which is why I think it's the silver lining of being a coach, because I've been at both ends of the scale, essentially, same as you, is that you also see the prejudice against you when you gain the weight. And we both know, we both went through crap in our lives that resulted in coping mechanisms that resulted in weight gain, right? COVID was in amongst that as well.
Yeah.
So to have people say things to me like, have you put on weight? Yeah, I've put on a little bit of weight. Oh, it's really not good to be that big. Do you want to use my bike? I have an exercise bike upstairs. And having my brother say what he said, which I've since taught him not to say that, it's insane to me, the amount of prejudice that there is for people who put on a bit of weight. And it's so misunderstood, because it's not that I was trying to eat my way to diabetes. It's not that I'm preaching that being overweight is healthy. It was a coping mechanism that reflected my mental state at the time. And that is what people don't understand. It drives me nuts.
Thank you for sharing that with me, because it's the same with me.
Yeah.
And let's just go back to how you said, we talked about, I will put a disclaimer in here so people know we're talking about eating disorders and stuff.
Yes.
Don't want
good.
this to,
amazing.
But we need to talk about it. Like, we can't not talk about things because we're going to upset people. Like, there's young girls and women and people listening to this that need to hear this.
Yeah.
I want to just put a light on disordered eating, that just because I know if you're listening to this, you may do this, starve yourself, really cut your calories down to lose the weight. Every time you do that, you're damaging your metabolism, you're actually damaging your body. But also, when we talk about health at every size, just, as a coach, we all know skinny fat. So visceral fat that lives around the organs, right, guys? So you can have a friend that is really lean and looks really fit. I've got plenty of girlfriends. I love them to bits. They've never been in a gym in their life. They don't watch what they eat. They live off junk and booze and whatever, and they're tiny, and people look at them and think that they're lucky that, they're really lean and healthy and whatever. Mate, they're not. And that's where we've got to look at health at every size, but also the disordered eating, that there's a lot of that's where I love TikTok and I hate it. Same with Instagram. It's great, but at the same time, how many calories on a plate, and the disordered eating. There was one going around that don't eat for, like, someone preaching, I'm going to starve myself for a while, and I did, and I lost all this weight, and now I'm going to get healthy because now I feel comfortable going into a gym, and now I'll eat properly. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And so that's what I want to bring up, that just because someone looks a certain way, guys, it doesn't necessarily mean that they might be going through a hard time, or they might, I've got some really lean friends that get pulled aside and asked if they're anorexic. So it actually can work the other way. So there are some people out there that may have a health condition, or other people out there that just don't like food, or other people that just genetically are really lean. And I know of some people that get stopped and it gets the other way. People go, oh, you're disgustingly, like, you're too skinny or gross. Do you have an eating disorder? So it goes the other way as well.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? I put up a post ages ago, and I had a girlfriend say, like, I think I was talking about prejudice around gaining weight, and she said, it goes both ways. Like, I want to put this out there, that people who are considered too skinny also get judgment as well. And I was so happy that she commented that, because, like, I can't speak to that person's experience because I've never been in her body experiencing that. But how ridiculous and damaging and thoughtless to say that to someone. And people think they can say it because it's the ideal body type. So then they're like, oh, well, you just look disgusting. Do you have an eating disorder? Like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Are you going to help me? Like, why?
Yeah. Words hurt. Words, I mean, hurt people, but people have got to understand that people don't even need to say anything. Sometimes it's a look.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of that too, like when I was not, I mean, I was never, I have to say, I was never diagnosed with a specific eating disorder, but no one in my family picked up on what I was doing. And I didn't realize that it was so unhealthy until I became much, much older. So at the time, I would do so many things to reduce my appetite, which now seems insane. And I don't even want to say what they are because I don't want to put that out there. But it was so unhealthy. I barely touched food, and if I did touch food, it would be only the cleanest of things with no oils and butter or flavor at all, no salt and nut and lemon in my water and all that kind of crap. And I felt like I was doing the right thing because so many people commented positively on my body. So I was like, well, this must be the right thing to do. And then now as a coach, when I'm teaching clients, I want you to have 200 grams of carbohydrates a day, or I want you to have this amount of food, or I want you to push your calories up to 2,000. And they're like, well, what are you doing? This is crazy. This is too much food. No one's ever told a woman to eat more food, right? Unless they're stigmatizing their skinny body. So for me, learning about nutrition and learning how to track my food in MyFitnessPal was a great tool for me because it showed me when I started, I'm eating like 900 calories a day and essentially starving myself. That's why I have terrible energy and I'm tired all the time. And so learning to track my food was a great tool because it taught me how to eat enough food. It was never for me, and I know it's different to everyone, but it was never a trigger for me with my previous history of disordered eating because I've been both a restrictor and a binger. So on one hand, it was like, all right, I've got to eat enough on, say, Monday through Thursday. I have to eat enough food, and I never do. So I have to build that up. But then Friday through Sunday, I have to make sure that I'm not overly indulging because the binge episodes I used to do were, it was a lot. It was intense. And when I tracked those calories just to see how much it was, like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 calories a day.
Easy.
So it made sense to me. All right, well, this is why I can't lose weight, even though I feel like I don't eat anything, meeting 6,000 calories in a sitting. So that was a really useful tool. But yeah, it's just education around food, which we need, and not people preaching fad diets like the 500. Have you heard of the 500 diet, where you just eat 500 calories a day to lose weight? Insane. Then you have keto, and you get super quick results on keto. But if you understand keto, you don't want to be doing that long term at all. And me and one friend of ours used to butt heads over it because he would do keto every 4 to 6 weeks and he'd lose 10 kilos in a week or every fortnight, whatever it was. But then he'd gain it back on every single time. And I was like, well, a diet should be sustainable, first of all. It shouldn't be giving you this yo-yo effect. So education has been huge, which is what I do a lot with my clients, as you would do with yours.
Yeah. And also too, everyone's different. So just because you're eating a certain amount of calories and you're eating a certain type of food doesn't mean that that's right for me. But also anyone listening to this who may want to be a mother or a father one day, you got to think that there are so many hormonal issues now. There's so many gut health issues, so many anxiety disorders and stuff because of people crash dieting, because of people not looking after themselves. So also before you go on that really calorie restrictive plan, or before you go on that latest thing you've seen on Instagram or TikTok, think about the next 10 years of your life. Do you want to be a parent? Do you want to have a child? Do you want to have gut health issues? Do you want to have bad skin? Do you it will come and nip you in the ass. Not tomorrow, not the next week, 5 or 10 years time. And so you've got to think long term. People don't, worry about it later.
Yeah, 100%. Even one thing, and stretch marks aren't a bad thing whatsoever. But I know, because I've been up and down in weight significantly 3 times, like 25 down, 25 up, down, up, and then 50 up. That type of dieting is going to cause more stretch marks as well, because you're constantly up and down. It's not sustainable. So your body is going to react. I mean, that's the least of your problems. Everything you were just saying, like gut health issues, is 10 times worse than that. But you just don't think about it because you're so desperate to get that result right here and now.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do the daily steps and the training each week and the better eating and the alcohol reduction. You don't want to do that because, oh, it's too much effort and I don't have time and I just want to complain about it. Like, no, you need to learn to change your habits. And that's hard. I hated my coach for my step target when I first got it, but you have to learn to change your habits to get a different result. So with my social media, I find it hard because I'll put this message out there, like, all bodies, you know, health at all size, don't judge me for my body, la-di-da-di-da. But then I'm also saying, like, well, if you want to get a result, whether that be health or more muscle or better mental health or fat loss, whatever it is, you do have to put in the effort to get there. Like, you can't just sit there and complain about it. So it goes both ways, right? Yeah. I'm not all to the right, I'm not all to the left. I feel like I sit right in the middle of, you don't have to have these goals. And if you don't want to do the work, stop talking about the end result, because you're never going to get there. But also, if you do want these goals, realize it'll take between 12 and 24 months to see significant change, and be okay with that, because a 6-week challenge isn't going to get you there.
Consistency over a long period of time, you've hit it on the head. So if you want to see change in your body, it's 12 to 24 months of consistent work.
Yep.
And it's all hard. So you choose your heart. It's hard doing this. It's hard not doing it. It's hard binge eating. It's hard. It's all hard. It's just it's got to align with your values and your beliefs and long-term what you want out of life. One thing I do want to talk about too is surrounding yourself with people that are the right people. And I'd love to talk about, if you've had any, we talk about, I do like body positivity and health at every size, but I'm more about the people you surround yourself with and how they help you, because that can add to certain things. So how has your experience been with coaches and stuff?
I didn't get the best introduction to my first coach. So pretty much the coach that I started with sort of had a tactic, and maybe it wasn't an intentional like manipulation tactic, but it seems that way on the outside to a few of us, that he was one of the coaches at the gym as well, and he would watch you train and then tell you how bad your training was, and that he could help you fix up your training and get you really technical, lifting heavier weight. Now, he wasn't wrong in that my deadlifts sucked, and he helped me with my squat. He did a lot of good things for me, don't get me wrong. His technique was fantastic, knowledge was fantastic, props. But when it came to food, I had a very sore point with him, because one, I do think as a coach, like, yes, if you're going to do tracking food and general targets for calories, you can find it online. You're not practicing outside of your scope. You're educating your clients as to why you give them their targets. But his way of doing nutrition was just telling you the foods that he wanted you to eat and foods that he didn't want you to eat, right? So it was incredibly restrictive. And his logic way of thinking was, all right, as a coach, it's my job to get you to your result and where you want to be. I'm going to get you there the most efficient, effective way possible. And like, I understand that way of thinking, don't get me wrong. But when it's like, no carbs before 11 a.m. and only red rice and certain types of fish for lunch, and only steamed vegetables and chicken breast for dinner, and no snacks and no alcohol and no chocolate and nothing like that. I was like, I'm not going to do this. Like, first of all, I'm a PT as well. I know that you can't tell people what to eat. don't give me a meal plan.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to. You shouldn't be giving me a meal plan, which is essentially what you're doing. Second thing was he didn't want me touching dairy or gluten. And I'm already dairy intolerant and celiac, so that was no problem for me. But I was such a sponge when I first started that when I said that to a client of mine who was a dietitian, she ripped me one, which was, I was so thankful to her, because at the time I was paying for a business coach, and I had this particular coach preaching the same things: no dairy, no gluten, inflammation, it'll cause you to gain weight, la-di-da. When I said this to her, she was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're expecting me to cut out food groups? Like, do you know what you're talking about? Like, how many people do you say this to? This is completely outside of your scope. Do you realize I'm an accredited dietitian? And I was just like, oh crap. Like, I didn't really think it through. I should have known better, but I was just going off what I had been told and trying to do the best job that I could. And she was just like, you cannot tell people to not have certain types of food groups. Yeah. So then when I thought about it and went home, I'm like, she's 100% right. And that's when it clicked. Like, I'm basically on a meal plan without really being told that I'm on a meal plan. And it's crazy. Like, I didn't even know what red rice was before this guy told me to eat it. It tastes like absolute filth.
I don't actually know what it is.
Red rice. I mean, that's what it is. But like, who sells it? I didn't know where to find it. So she got me thinking, and she was great. And I said to her the next session, like, I really appreciate that you said that, because it really made me think. I got rid of that business mentor. I ended up quitting with my coach after that as well, which I'll explain in a second. So my coach essentially had me on this food plan. I went in for a session, and he would always weigh his clients before we would train at the gym.
Every time,
which I find really, really disheartening, because for one, if I'm training a client at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, they've already had potentially 1 or 2 meals and a couple of coffees. I know that their weight's not going to be accurate at that time, first of all. Second of all, don't weigh me. I can do that in the privacy of my own house. Like, how embarrassing. So anyway, he put me on the scales, and I'd gone up like 400 or 500 grams from the past week, and it was like midday. And instead of training me, he was really pissed off. He took me into the coach office we sat in. He wrote me down my exact meal plan, what foods he wants me to eat and not to eat, and he gave it to me, and it was just like the cleanest thing ever. And I said, I'm not going to follow this. I know myself. Can I at least add a row of chocolate in there? Like, something to get me through the day. I know I could if I had something at the end of the day to get me through. And he said, you can have 1 piece of 90% dark chocolate, and that's it. And then he charged me for the entire session as if he trained me. He didn't train me. He just sat down and berated me and was like, follow the effing plan if you want results. Literally said that. You're a coach, you should know better. You've got to show your clients how to do it. And there was so much of that too. Like, I heard him tell other people I was too big to be a coach. Like, oh, too big to be a coach. Like, you got to be smaller to show people how to do it. Absolute bullcrap. But at the time, I was like, oh, so insecure. He's right. I suck, la-di-da. Anyway, after the chat with this dietitian client, and thinking about it, I ended up stopping training with him. I was like, look, I don't want to train with you anymore. Let me explain why. And he just said, you don't need to explain it. So I didn't. And then proceeded to never speak to me again for the next, 6 months, 8 months that we worked together. Never spoke to me again. Which was just ridiculous. But that was my introduction to having my very own personal trainer. And so for me, I'm thinking, all right, you're like 27, 28 guy. How many women have trained with a young male PT who has no idea about periods and PCOS and endometriosis, and who gives an actual crap about mental health and anything like that? I was like, this is how you treat your clients. And sure, his clients were amazing. They got results, but he had a very specific type of client, just like I did. We appealed to two different groups of people. And so that was the experience I had with my first coach.
Wow. But sometimes you can go one or the other way, can't you? You can actually be like, it's put you off and you never would set foot in the gym again and you'd never bother. And then otherwise what's happened now is that's just giving you added fuel to the flame, being like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
So you're lucky, not lucky, but in a sense, it's great that you were able, same with your, what happened when you went into that new gym, that could have gone one or two ways for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, me a couple of years ago would have been crushed over what happened with the gym. And same thing, like, I think I was starting to build my confidence when I had this coach. I was just starting to sort of find my place. Who am I going to be in the fitness industry? And everyone says, find your niche and what makes you different to everyone else. And I was like, I'm a PT. We teach people how to squat and deadlift. What makes me different to anyone else? But over time, I was like, well, I understand disordered eating. I understand that trauma and mental health affect your results. I understand that if a mom of 5 comes to train with me, she probably can't train an hour and a half, 5 times a week and hit a 12,000 day step count. Well, she could probably do the steps. But like, it's about training your clients around their lifestyle and being flexible enough to fit in with them while also guiding them. I mean, with my clients, you know, at the end of the week, they'll be like, oh, I had an absolutely terrible week this week, didn't train, la-di-da-di-da. And I'm like, yeah, but you hit your steps every single day. That's amazing. Like, you know, let's look at the positives here. So, you know, just finding the good thing about their journey instead of it constantly being this critical, negative, I didn't get everything done, I suck, I'm a failure, results won't come. Consistency, as we said before, results will come. Give it time.
Already, no matter how old anyone is listening to this, we all have that negative loop that plays in our head. We're not good enough, we're not skinny enough, we're not pretty enough. Whatever that loop is in your head. And I find that skinny is not the ultimate goal. Like being skinny, because what happens is if you get there, like I didn't get skinny, but I got lean enough for my body type. It didn't bring me more happiness. I didn't even know I was there. I was still chasing it. But shit happens in life. And we all go through stages while we're here of grief and trauma. And sometimes our bodies will change. Our bodies do change. Our bodies will change. And we've got to be able to be accepting of our body and let it move through the season and actually be here for our health. Like it's yes, it's functional movement. Yes, it's to lose weight, whatever you want to call it. But I'm a real big believer, because I've done the full circle, of health.
And it's not health if you're driving yourself into the ground to achieve these ridiculous targets that your coach has set for you. That's not health, because your mental health gets sacrificed from that as well. But interesting what you said there. Like, when I was my smallest, I was also my most moody, chaotic, unstable, depressed. I was in the worst headspace I've ever been in when I was that small. And yes, I loved the way I looked. And yes, I could fit into size 8 clothing. And yes, that did make me feel fantastic. But for very fleeting moments when I was trying clothes on in the store, and then when I was back to my life, and I was dating my husband, and we always joke about, like, I can't believe he actually went through and married me, because I was such a chaotic person, a crazy person when we dated. And I think about what was happening in my life and the trauma and the family issues and everything that was coming up for me, like moving out of home for the first time as well. That's its whole other set of issues. But again, I found like being skinny wasn't going to solve any of my problems.
But it didn't make me more confident.
Yeah, you think that it will. You're like, that if I can get skinny, I'll be totally fine and super happy, and it'll be great, and I'll get really good friends, and you know, my friends will be pretty and we'll have the best time. Like, no, it doesn't work like that at all. And the funny thing is, like, I'm the biggest well, not anymore. I have lost a bit of weight since I hit the 120 mark, but I'm still in the bigger phase that I've been in my body. And now I'm the most confident that I've ever been. And I'll have girlfriends say things like, oh, like, I love your confidence that you have. Like, I love that you wear that. Like, I wore a crop top. I love the confidence you have to wear that crop top. Like, I really admire that. And I'm like, well, are you saying that because you think I'm too big to wear the crop top, so you think I need that type of courage to wear it? Or are you genuinely complimenting me? Because when you have both ends of the stick, you don't trust people with their compliments.
Yeah.
Like, is this a backhanded compliment?
It's interesting because I've my whole life I've had, oh, you've got a pretty face. That's oh, righto. So I still get that now. Oh, you've got such
do though.
Yeah, oh, love you. But you know, you get people that say that, and especially when I'm heavier, that I know it's like, it's almost like, oh,
what about my body?
Pretty face, oh, pity about the body. Or
yes.
Not too long ago, I had a kind of a work colleague who I used to contract for. It was a friend of a friend. We went out walking, and I always wear like leggings and stuff. And it's funny how some people can say things to you, and I was like, that's not a compliment, but it was like, oh my God, I love your leggings. Oh, I wish if I was your size, like I wish I could be like you and wear leggings. Like I can't even wear leggings at my size. Like it was something along the lines of, wow, like, oh, I really admire you that you can wear leggings, because I could never wear those. And like literally I'm only 5'7" or something, 167 centimeters, so I'm not overly tall. But
I'm the exact same height as you.
Yeah, so I was taller than her by a head, so I always feel like a giant. But she was like, oh, like I still, yeah, oh, like I like your leggings, and you know, I really wish I could have the confidence to pull them off like you do. But there was a lot of hidden, like, and then I went home, was looking in the mirror, and like I've always had big legs and stuff, but I'm like, shit. Like, is that what people look at me and be like, wow, look at your legs, Barbara, they're matte? Like,
yeah, it's only my confidence that would allow me to wear leggings like this, not because I have a normal body. That like, you have a normal body. That's why you wear these clothes.
But I was wearing leggings because they were fucking comfortable.
Why do you need confidence to do that?
Like, oh, if I, like, it was almost like, I can't believe that you wear them. Like, I could never wear those at your.
Yeah, and I'm smaller than you, so how do you do it?
Yeah.
Like, that's the exact vibe I had when I wore that crop top. I was like, that's not a compliment. It's not a compliment it's not a compliment to say you're so confident that you're wearing that. It's, oh wow, you look so great in that. And if you don't think I look great in it, then just don't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Like,
because when you put on weight, like there's some people listening to this that may have only put on 5 kilos, some people that have put on 50 or 60 or 25 or whatever. You know that you look different, you feel different, you move different, you sit different. You don't need other people to tell you. But the same thing is, whenever I see people I haven't seen for a while, and I love people for people. Yeah. I don't love people for the way they look. I couldn't care less if my best friend put on 50 kilos, because I love them. They're still my bestie.
Yeah.
And because I know life can get in the way, and life just happens. Some people are on medications. Like there's a lot of people on different types of medications that their body gets out of control. People go through miscarriages. People go through grief and deaths and breakups and family traumas and abuse and stuff. I'm sorry, but life is more than being skinny. Life is more than you need to be happy within yourself. Because when I was your age too, it was really built into me that I needed validation from other people. I didn't even realize at the time, but it was really important to me what other people thought of me.
Yeah.
It was all I lived for. You know, I wanted validation from everyone. I wanted people to like me, and especially from men and stuff. I wanted them, because I'm a bigger build, it's so hard. Like I feel like guys look at me and just don't think I'm pretty enough, or I'm skinny enough, or I'm good enough, because I'm not that typical skinny size, you know?
Yeah. Which is why, as a whole, we need to start being more inclusive of bodies and having them represented on social media and magazines and modeling agencies, which is starting to happen. People miss the point of it. Like, I do find him quite funny. Tom Segura and his wife, Christina, they have a podcast called Your Mum's House. And they're both stand-up comedians, and they're both satire. Like, you know, they say the triggering stuff, they say the stuff that you wouldn't say. It's not PC whatsoever, and it's funny as. But they were talking about plus size models, and oh my goodness, hello.
This is Maisie. She just joined the podcast.
The door. Hi, Maisie. Oh, I love dogs. Hi, Maisie.
I know you do. That's why I think she wanted to say hello. She
can feel my vibe.
She knows.
Yeah, but even they were saying, like, you know, when I go shopping, I want to see that item of clothing on someone with an amazing body, so that it looks so good on them. That's how you sell clothes. You don't sell clothes by putting them on a fatty. And it was like, oh my God, stop talking like that. First of all, I know it's funny and it's non-PC on purpose. I get that, but it's damaging to tell people that if you have the slightest bit of body fat on your body, that you're disgusting and we literally don't want to see you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, before we start wrapping up too, it's interesting, like even clothing sizes, cut the tag off your clothes, because you can go to Kmart and that's a 16. You can go to another shop and it's a 10. You can go to another shop and it's a size 20. Like, clothing sizes aren't what they used to be, like 25.
Oh, especially H&M is the worst place I've ever been in terms of sizes. So if any of your listeners who are younger might shop there quite a bit, the sizing is awful there, and it's like 10 times smaller than what it should be. Mm-hmm.
I only went there when I first moved here like 5 or 6 years ago, and I was like a 12. And I think when I moved here, and I bought a couple of things. But yeah, you were right. I bought a couple of shirts for work, and they didn't do up for obvious reasons. And they were just, you know, you don't want to get an office job when you first move to Australia and have your tits come out. So actually, there were shirts from H&M that I bought, and they just sat in my wardrobe, and then I chuck, you know. So
throw them in the bin.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh. Is there anything else that you want to cover today? I'm just having a look at our list to see if there's anything. I think
if I could say,
yeah,
I'm just trying to think. If I could say one thing, because your listeners, you said that you work with teenage girls, younger women. It would probably just be to do your best to realize, and actively, not just do your best, actively work on realizing that your worth as a person is not tied to the size of your body. When you're a teenager, you think that what you look like is absolutely everything, right? It's not. And when you grow up, so I'm coming into my later 20s now, which I know is still young. But as you grow up, and I speak to lots of women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, like train all ages of women, what you look like is a fraction of what's important in your life. So when we talk about things like, if I have a client who comes to me and says, you know, I've gained 10, 15, 20 kilos, I'm like, oh, like, why do you think that happened? And then it's like, oh, someone died, or I was dealing with abuse, or I had a marriage breakdown, or I'm battling in custody with my ex. There's always a reason why your body changes. So protect your mental health. That is your number one priority, no matter what, is your mental health and the state of that. But also realize that if anything bad happens to you, for example, if anyone's boyfriend has cheated on them, I'm using this as an example because I've had a few girls say that to me. Oh, well, he wouldn't have cheated on me if I looked a different way. Or he wouldn't have cheated on me with her if I looked prettier because she's really pretty. No one who is a decent human being is going to cheat on you because you don't look like a different person. You are you, your personality, your humor, the way you see the world, how you look. People love the way people look when you love that person. Like when you have a beautiful relationship with someone, you like, I met my husband, I didn't think he was that good looking at all. And then the more I got to know him, I was like, you are the most handsome man in the world, because he was such a good person. And that is how people see you. So do not ever think bad things happen to you because you've gained weight or you're not small enough. Your worth as a person has nothing to do with the way that you look. And any person in society who tells you that, you don't need them in your life.
Yes, yes. I've had I've been cheated on multiple times. So, and that was all,
Oh,
the other woman was always skinnier, and that's what I would always go to.
oh.
And you know,
How
that,
funny that that's the point I said.
yeah,
Not funny, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's
but that was
obviously a common thought process.
very common thought process. And you know, as I'm older now I work with women that I say the same thing to them. I also have learned to say this to them. If someone's listening to this and like me, they have been cheated on, and they're always with girls that you always think the other woman's prettier, and then you show someone else and they're like, no, then like you always think someone's better than you. And this is what I say to people now, my clients and stuff. If you've been cheated on or because of how you think you look or your weight, think of Jennifer Lopez, think of Jennifer Aniston, think of, there are two Jennifers, I don't know why they came up, but think of whoever is in Rihanna or whatever, Rihanna or whatever. Like, think of all the people in the media or famous people that are pretty or have great bodies or whatever appeals to you. Miley Cyrus and everyone, like all sorts of, I'm just trying to get every demo, but some people all get cheated on. And they've got everything. They're probably good people. They work hard. They've got good aesthetics.
Money and fame and aesthetics, and they are celebrated, especially J-Lo. Like, she's world renowned for that ass. So like,
but they're pretty and they're skinny, or whatever words you want to use around that. And but you know what? They're everyday people, and everyday people, even if they're famous or not, get cheated on.
Yeah.
So that's a really good thing to say to people, that, you know, if they feel that, is to say, well, hey, what about this person XYZ that's in the media? They've been cheated on. Like, is their body not good enough? Are they not pretty enough? So you can have everything.
Yes.
And that happens to you for a lesson. So every time that happened to me, that lesson was someone saying to me, you need to look within and you need to love, because that happens usually when you don't love yourself, because you attract who you project out. So the people that I was attracting were people that didn't love themselves, people that had no respect for themselves. And the same with me. I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. So guess what? That's who I'm going to attract. I had no boundaries. I had no self-esteem. And they could treat me like shit. And it was like, oh, it's okay, because they're my boy, like whatever. But you have to go through that to realize that your body, the right person will come along and they'll love you for you no matter what.
No matter what. And don't be afraid to hold those people accountable for their actions as well. Because when you have that low self-worth around your body, and then someone like that, someone who you invested your whole life into at one point cheats on you, it's so easy to blame yourself for that. But hold them accountable for their actions. Like, we're all adults now, you know, no one's a child. Like, you need to be able to hold people according to what they do. So if someone cheats on you, that's got nothing to do with you and everything to do with that person. And if I could leave your listeners with one thing else, is that if they're dealing with things like difficult family relationships or trauma, or, you know, any type of abuse, whether in adulthood or childhood, you know, if you put on weight because you eat a lot, or you have a binge eating disorder, that is likely a symptom of the other stuff that you were going through. So instead of beating yourself up for either not eating anything because you're too stressed, or maybe that's the only space you can control in your life, especially if you're living at home, tends to be one of the few things that you can control in your life. Or if you're out of home and you find yourself in the kitchen at nighttime, you know, everyone else might be asleep or whatever it is, and you're finding yourself uncontrollably eating, it is very likely a symptom of the other stuff that you're either avoiding, or two, you're trying to cope with, but maybe you haven't found the right therapist, or you haven't found the right support group, or whatever that is. I know in my journey, people look at my body like, oh wow, she gained so much weight, or what a shame that she gained so much weight, whatever. I know that I did what I did because I was not coping with things that I was going through. So when you're going through that, take yourself to therapy, or take yourself to a sporting team that you enjoy, or start reading your books again, or look inside and think, you know, what would my inner child like to do today, and go outside and play with your dog. Do the fun stuff. Stop being so critical on yourself, because when you start dealing with the actual problems, then the weight and your body will respond accordingly. Those issues will not be as significant because you'll be dealing with the actual problem. For anyone who hasn't been through trauma, that might sound crazy, but for the people who have been through some stuff, don't beat yourself up about that, because you already have enough self-worth issues from the trauma. So be there for yourself. Your body will do its thing.
Also find the right people too. So if you're in a group of friends that constantly talk about their bodies, constantly give you certain hacks and tricks to stop eating, or encourage you to, I don't know, we all know.
Yes, we all know those girls.
Find other girls. Find other women that are more healthier for you.
I have a client, bless her. I love her. I'm obsessed with her. She's an incredible person. She's in the, so people talk about the toxicity of the fitness industry. She's in the fashion industry. And that's a whole different game. So I'm like, let's get you eating more food. Let's include a snack at like morning tea time. And then when that doesn't happen, the feedback is, well, no one else eats at that time. Therefore, I don't want to eat at that time. And I don't judge her. I totally understand that. But I'm like, that in itself is so toxic, that you feel that you cannot eat if you're hungry because other people around you aren't eating. That's insane. But, you know, my client she's figuring that out for herself, right? And, you know, it doesn't matter what your goal is. You can have a goal to be thin, you can have a goal to be thick, you can have a goal to be strong. Your goals don't matter. But as you said, the people you surround yourself with absolutely matter, because it shapes the way that you think.
It sure does. It sure does. I'm sure we're going to talk again. I just get this feeling that we're going to hang out and we're going to talk again.
So do I.
Yeah.
Meet up for drinks or something.
Yeah, we're going to.
Yeah.
I think so, but I think it's really great, and just keep doing what you're doing, because you're touching people. It doesn't sound good. You're touching them, you're touching people. Oh my gosh, you can tell it's late. You're changing people's lives. This is why I like my podcast, because people will be laughing, going, "Oh my gosh!" but I mean, you can say touching people, because you are actually changing people's lives, and you're making a difference to people. That it's still a taboo thing. It's still girls aren't meant to put on weight, and if you put on weight, you're lazy and you're disgusting and you're a blob and you're like whatever. And I know so many fitness instructors that put on weight when they do like 4 or 5 classes a day, and their bodies are overtraining and they're putting on weight and they can't.
Yes, that's a huge one.
Yeah, it's really big, right? In the fitness industries, it can go the other way. Is people that are super fit and stuff can so we've got to learn to, as women, like, can we actually be there for each other and actually stop this bullshit of looking at each other up and down? If you see a woman that looks beautiful, can you just say, oh, I love that top on you, you look really good, and just keep it positive. And if you don't have anything nice to say, like, shut your mouth.
Yeah, 100%. And also, like, just the last point is, like, if your mum is the perpetrator of most of your issues, just know that that's really common. A lot of our mums started this whole, you have to be skinny and look a certain way and you have to be on a diet. And that's old school. Like that especially people our age. Like,
well, guess what? It was my dad. So it can be bad. So it was my dad that would always say to me that I was fat and ugly and that no guy would ever want me and that I'm a big
Throw him in the bin.
and I'm a big girl and all this stuff. So it can be any parent. Yeah. And then I attracted the same type of guys that would say the same thing to me. Or, or couldn't lift as heavy at me in the gym and then they'd get all shitty. And I was like, well, it's not my fault. Like,
sorry that I'm stronger than you.
Sorry about that. But yeah, you know what? It's just, thank you. And I know that we're going to do plenty more work together in podcasts and stuff because it's such an important thing to get out there for women listening to this. Even if your body hasn't changed now, guess what? The time you're on this planet, you will experience some form of grief, some form of trauma. I'm sorry, like it's life. And having good people around you and understanding your body and your health, it really will help you through that hard time. And just knowing that when you find the right people, hold them close and just, be vulnerable because it can really help you.
100%.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me on this podcast tonight. And a lot of people, and if people want to find more about you, like if someone's listening to this and they want to get coached by you, how can they find you?
So my main thing at the moment is just Instagram or TikTok. So the handle is Milly Creane. It's spelt Creane. I will be starting a YouTube channel soon. I just need to, actually start filming stuff. Been debating about doing a podcast as well, which I think I would be better at because I'm a chatter, not so much a video editor. But yeah, main thing right now is just either Instagram or TikTok.
Cool, and they can reach out to you on there if they have any questions or want to be
of course. Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on. This was great.
This is great, and we will do it again soon.
100%. We'd love that.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbarathomson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you, and I'll catch you soon. Bye!